We can't wake her up. I don't know what it is.
Those were the words Anita Turner spoke to emergency dispatchers on the morning of May 7, 2011. Her son's girlfriend, 17-year-old Emily Longley, lay motionless in bed. By the time ambulance crews arrived at the Turner family home in Bournemouth, England, it was too late. Emily was dead. No drugs in her system, no obvious signs of trauma, just a beautiful young woman who would never open her eyes again. Across the world in New Zealand, a father's phone rang in the middle of the night. When Mark Longley answered, his world collapsed in 6 devastating words. "I'm sorry, your daughter Emily is dead." But Emily didn't just die. She was killed, and the person responsible was the very boy who claimed to love her. This is her infuriating story. The 999 call came in shortly after 9 a.m. "It's my son's girlfriend. She won't wake up," Anita Turner told emergency dispatchers. Her voice was a little too calm for someone reporting a potential tragedy. When paramedics arrived at the affluent Queen's Park neighborhood in Bournemouth, they found 17-year-old Emily Longley cold to the touch. She had been dead for hours. Initial observations revealed little. No obvious signs of trauma, no immediate explanation for why a healthy teenager wouldn't wake up. Nothing except a necklace that seemed unusually tight around her neck.
Anything around her neck?
Anything around her neck? Oh, that necklace. No, she's got a necklace very tight.
But something felt wrong from the start. A hole punched through the bedroom door, a young man with a packed bag and passport in his pocket, parents whose stories didn't quite align about when they discovered the body, and Elliot Turner, Emily's 20-year-old boyfriend, whose demeanor betrayed neither grief nor shock, just the arrogant certainty of someone who believed he was untouchable. "What happened?" the police asked. "We argued," he said. "She attacked me, so I grabbed her by the neck for a few seconds. Then I left the room. When I came back, we went to sleep. She must have died in her sleep." His explanation was met with skepticism. Healthy young women don't simply die in their sleep. As detectives dug deeper, they uncovered something chilling on Emily's Facebook page, posted just 2 days before her death. "I have a stalker." The investigation was just beginning, but it was already clear this was no accident. It was murder, hidden behind the walls of privilege, wealth, and a young man's monstrous sense of entitlement. Emily Longley was born in London on February 22, 1994, to Mark and Caroline Longley. From the moment she entered the world, people noticed her beauty, crystal blue eyes and natural blonde hair that would one day make her dream of becoming a model seem entirely within reach. 2 years after Emily's birth, her parents welcomed another daughter, Hannah. The sisters formed an unbreakable bond that would last until Emily's final days. When Emily was 10, the family made a life-changing decision. London wasn't working for their sensitive, vulnerable daughter who struggled with eating disorders and emotional issues. They packed up and moved to Auckland, New Zealand, hoping for a fresh start. New Zealand became home. Emily blossomed there, developing her distinctive personality, compassionate, caring, outgoing, with a dark sense of humor that matched her father's. Mark and Emily shared a special connection, laughing at jokes others might not understand. Mark would later say, "I live with the happy memories of her, but that's a heartbreaking thought in itself, to have only memories of your teenage daughter." Emily grew into a young woman. Her natural beauty attracted attention. She dreamed of becoming a successful model, and those who knew her encouraged her to do it. She had the looks, the drive, and that special something that made people notice her. Life took another turn in 2010. During a Christmas visit to her grandparents in Bournemouth, Emily fell in love with Brockenhurst College and the opportunity it represented. She had made a home in New Zealand, but now she knew she wanted to return to her home country. Mark would explain, "When Emily set her mind on something, you just had to go along for the ride. There was no holding her back." With her parents' blessing, but lingering concern, Emily created a new life for herself on England's southern coast. She enrolled in Brockenhurst College, got a part-time job at Topshop, and embraced the independence of young adulthood. She was 17, beautiful, and full of potential, a young woman with the world opening before her. But in December 2010, Emily met someone who would destroy everything. His name was Elliot Turner. Elliot Turner was born into privilege, the son of a wealthy jeweler, Lee Turner, and his Indonesian wife, Anita. From childhood, Elliot got whatever he wanted. His parents denied him nothing, creating a monster behind the facade of wealth and status. He drove a Mini Cooper bought by his grandparents, lived in his parents' spacious home, and never had to work for anything.
He was just spoiled rotten and allowed to indulge these fantasies and never told no.
In the clubs and bars of Bournemouth, Elliot created a carefully crafted persona. The flashy playboy, the gangster, the man everyone wanted to know. He called himself Scarface and God on social media. His friends mockingly nicknamed him All Talk Turner. You know something is wrong when your nickname means you can't stop bragging. He surrounded himself with a group of wealthy young men called The Firm, splashing money on expensive vodka bottles and VIP booths. He bragged about sleeping with reality TV stars and claimed that he had been to rehab for a cocaine addiction. It was all image, all talk, but beneath this shallow exterior lurked something genuinely dangerous. A deeply immature, manipulative, jealous, and violent core. He carried a hammer, boasting he would use it if anyone crossed him. He couldn't handle rejection.
He was a mix of very obsessive, very jealous, very possessive and controlling.
In 2008, at just 16, Elliot received a harassment warning from police after bombarding an ex-girlfriend with messages when she ended their relationship. His friends later revealed he had talked about wanting to suffocate her with a pillow. This was the real Elliot Turner, entitled, obsessive, and violent. And in December 2010, his predatory gaze fixed on Emily Longley. They met at a club. Emily was beautiful, the perfect trophy to complement his self-image as a successful playboy. For Emily, just 16 and far from home, Elliot was exciting, maybe a glimpse into the VIP world. The relationship moved quickly. Soon, they declared their love, but the fairy tale crumbled almost immediately. This was a classic narcissistic trap, a manipulative cycle that experts call love bombing, devaluation, and discard. First came the overwhelming affection and grand declarations of love designed to sweep Emily off her feet and secure her emotional attachment. Once Elliot felt he had her, the mask slipped. Compliments transformed into criticism, affection morphed into control. What had seemed like passion revealed itself as possession, the foundation for escalating abuse that would eventually turn deadly. Just months into this relationship, Elliot controlled what Emily wore. He called her degrading names. He physically abused her, grabbing her throat, punching her, even in public. He accessed her social media accounts, posing as Emily to cut off her male friends. He isolated her from female friends too. After each episode of abuse, he would apologize, only to escalate further next time. He blamed Emily for his violence, gaslighting her into believing she provoked his attacks. And repeatedly, he threatened to kill her, sometimes in front of witnesses, showing neither shame nor restraint. In a desperate attempt to save the relationship, Emily wrote him a heartbreaking note. 1, I love you. 2, don't say you'll kill me. 3, stop talking about your ex-girlfriends. 4, be less aggressive and cooler. It's much hotter and less intimidating. That's downright excellent advice to anyone. But Elliot couldn't change. His narcissism and obsession with control were too deeply rooted. Back in England, Emily did what she had planned. She ended her relationship with Elliot Turner. His reaction was explosive. Consumed by jealousy and entitlement, he could not accept a rejection. Emily was his possession, not a person with her own choices and agency.
He seemed to treat her like just a Facebook photo.
Emily tried to move on. She went on dates with other men. She even slept with Elliot's friend, Luke Ashford, a betrayal Elliot couldn't forgive. But Elliot wouldn't let go. He monitored her social media using the passwords he'd obtained during their relationship. When Emily arranged dates with other men, Elliot would appear to intimidate them. On one occasion, he approached a new love interest named L.S. Powell while carrying a hammer, warning him to stay away from his girlfriend. Afterward, Elliot was seen in his car pounding the steering wheel in rage. The irony was shocking. Elliot had slept with 3 women during their relationship. His possessiveness wasn't about love, it was about control. His obsession grew even more dangerous. One night, he told friends he had killed Emily with his hammer and dumped her body in the bushes. When they looked alarmed, he laughed and said it wasn't just a joke. His friend Tom Crow joined in, and they fantasized about setting Emily on fire or her. They even practiced strange holds on each other, treating murder like a game. Days later, Elliot would turn this fantasy into a reality. On May 6, 2011, Emily went out with friends to Cafe Shore. Elliot, still monitoring her social media, knew exactly where to find her. When he arrived, he exploded in rage about her outfit. Short shorts, a bra, and a small waistcoat. By the way, even when you are with someone, you have no right over what they wear. But Elliot wasn't even her boyfriend anymore. The confrontation escalated until Emily threw her drink in his face. Humiliated and enraged, Elliot began threatening Emily publicly. His friends heard him declare, "I will kill her. I will go to prison for it, and I will still be a millionaire. I would do 10 years and it wouldn't bother me at all." He even texted his mother, "I'm going to kill Emily." As Emily left to escape the ruined evening, Elliot followed. Despite everything, he persuaded her to come to his parents' house to talk. Perhaps Emily believed his parents' presence would keep her safe. That was a fatal error. Elliot, Emily, and Tom Crow walked into the Turner home together. When they arrived, Elliot and Emily went inside while Tom waited outside. Moments later, Elliot emerged and pressed his hammer into Tom's chest, asking him to go inside and kill Emily. Tom refused. Shortly after, Emily tried to lock Elliot out of the house, but the 182-pound man overpowered her and got inside. A neighbor passing by heard Tom express concern that Elliot might kill Emily. Neither of them did anything. Tom went home in a taxi. Inside the house, Elliot forced Emily onto the bed. They struggled violently. The makeup smudged on Elliot's clothes and the bed sheets tells the whole story. Forensic evidence would later show that Elliot suffocated Emily with a pillow. When that wasn't enough to kill her, he rolled her over and strangled her. Emily fought for her life. Her blood vessels hemorrhaged in her face and eyelids as she struggled to breathe. But Elliot didn't stop. He held her until she died, fulfilling the threats he had made so many times before. Afterward, he grabbed his passport and packed a bag, intending to flee Spain. He even wrote a confession letter to his mother, but he changed his mind, believing he could create a story to cover his actions. He kept the letter in his jacket pocket and went to sleep beside the body of the girl he had just murdered. The next morning, Elliot Turner awoke and left for work, leaving Emily's body in his bed. Hours later, his mother, Anita, entered the room to wake Emily. Finding her unresponsive, Anita didn't immediately call emergency services. Instead, the family spent nearly an hour communicating back and forth before finally dialing 999.
Just tell me what's happened there, the main reason for the call.
What it is, my son's friend is staying with us. This morning, I tried to wake both of them up, but the girl didn't wake up.
Anita didn't sound very concerned, nor did she make an effort to check if Emily was alive.
We tried to wake her up. I don't know what it is.
I need you to pull back the duvet for me and just look to see if you can see any signs of breathing.
I tried to hold the pulse.
When paramedics arrived around 9 a.m., all they could do was pronounce Emily dead. In New Zealand, Mark Longley received the devastating news in the middle of the night. He didn't want to believe it. He immediately called his mother in England. When she answered, she was hysterical. A police officer took the phone to confirm the unthinkable. "I'm sorry to tell you that your daughter, Emily, is dead." Mark rushed to England, still clinging to the hope that there had been some kind of mistake. When he arrived, he went straight from the airport to the morgue.
I went into the room and she just looked like she was asleep. Yeah, I thought she's going to open her eyes in a minute and just say boo to me, and then she's going to laugh at this big trick that it still took a long time to sink in.
Initially, the circumstances of Emily's death were puzzling. Police told Mark that his daughter had died in her sleep, a strange explanation for a healthy teenage girl. The autopsy results were inconclusive, not definitively determining a cause of death, though one expert suggested strangulation. But there were too many rumors to pin one down.
There was talk of her taking drugs. There was a lot of speculation. about that.
As time went by, each rumor was dismissed. First off, there was no substances in her system.
The toxicology report came back about a week later, and that ruled out drugs.
Meanwhile, Elliot Turner was questioned but released. He claimed Emily had attacked him and he had merely restrained her by the throat for a few seconds before they went to sleep. He insisted he was shocked to find her dead the next morning. Despite his supposed grief, Elliot posted photos of Emily on Facebook and continued partying, reportedly telling people, "My bird's dead. I'm a free man again now." First off, bird is a horrible word for girlfriend. Second, she wasn't your girlfriend. Third, you were the one throwing tantrums after she broke up with you. Honestly, this man is sickening. As investigators dug online, they found this disturbing evidence. Just 2 days before her death, Emily had posted on Facebook, "I have a stalker." Police suspected the Turner family was hiding something. Just look at that last CCTV footage. It was clear these two were not together anymore. So why would Emily spend the night at his place of her own accord?
Show Emily Longley arriving at the club, arriving not with Turner, but separately. They're not a happy couple, obviously.
In a bold move, they decided to bug the Turner home. What they recorded was shocking. Elliot confessed to his parents.
I just let Owen absolutely nuts. I've never in my whole life ever got to that point.
They picked up just hours and hours and hours of conversation and confession.
His father, Lee, was heard acknowledging. His mother, Anita, was heard saying it was not his fault. Even now, they weren't setting boundaries. Everything he did was fine by them. What's worse, they were complicit in trying to keep their son out of prison. It emerged that while police were collecting evidence from the house, Lee Turner had asked to retrieve important medication from inside. Once inside, he and Anita retrieved and destroyed Elliot's confession letter. The recordings captured Anita justifying their actions while Lee struggled with his conscience.
We've destroyed vital evidence in this case. You think we were right?
Yeah.
The family was also heard plotting to alter their statements about the delayed emergency call and removing evidence from the crime scene. Further investigation of Elliot's computer revealed searches for death by strangulation and how to avoid punishment for a crime. Elliot Turner was arrested and charged with murder. His parents were charged with perverting the course of justice. Elliot Turner's trial began in May 2012. In court, the prosecution painted a clear picture of a jealous, entitled young man who murdered his ex-girlfriend when she tried to leave him. Turner's defense alternated between claims of self-defense, expressions of regret, and outright denial. He maintained that Emily attacked him, forcing him to restrain her briefly before they went to sleep. But the evidence was overwhelming. The jury heard about Turner's history of threats, his possessive behavior, and the damning recordings of his post-murder conversations with his parents. But the most disturbing layer of all was his complete lack of remorse. When an attorney asked him during cross-examination why he didn't seem sad about Emily's death, Turner replied coldly, "Well, it was a year ago." Gasps were heard in the courtroom. He showed his true nature. He was an entitled brat. He was still telling people his dad would get him out and he would have a lavish party to celebrate.
He just didn't believe that he was going to go down for his crime.
The jury's verdict was unanimous. Guilty. On May 22, 2012, Justice Linda Dobbs sentenced Elliot Turner to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 16 years. In her remarks, she described him as arrogant and manipulative. She said, "The relationship, if it can be called that, was all about you. It was about control you carried out using aggression and threats. You can put away thoughts of champagne, Bentley, and girls and concrete on the reason you are serving a life sentence." Lee and Anita Turner were also found guilty of perverting the course of justice and sentenced to 27 months in prison each. They served only half their sentences. Even in prison, Elliot showed no remorse. Reports emerged in 2013 that he had decorated his cell with photos of Emily and boasted about receiving fan mail from women who believed his innocence. This behavior made other inmates angry. Some attacked him repeatedly until he was transferred to another wing of the prison. 14 years have passed since Emily Longley's life was brutally cut short. She never got to fulfill her dream of becoming a successful model. She never got to watch the Rugby World Cup with her father. She never got to grow into the remarkable woman she was becoming. Her father, Mark, had channeled his grief into advocacy, becoming a white ribbon ambassador, campaigning against violence towards women. He recognizes that one crucial lesson from Emily's case is the importance of calling out male violence early before it escalates to tragedy. What a load of rubbish closure is, Mark once said. Grief never ends. And because the people in his life found it hard to talk to him after this incident, Mark made an entire podcast series about his experience with death. He said this about grief: "It's not a bad thing. I don't ever want to stop feeling sad that Emily died. So the thing to do is find some way to manage it. It's like some annoying relative that comes to live with you. You've got to find a way to live with each other, and grief is like that." The Turner parents were ostracized by their community after serving their prison sentences. They still live in the house where Emily died. Elliot Turner remains in prison. He attempted to appeal his conviction, but it was denied. He will be eligible for parole in 2028, though many hope the parole board will recognize the danger he still poses. Mark, Hannah, and Caroline now live with the painful knowledge that Emily was taken by a monster who saw her not as a person to love, but as a possession to control. Emily Longley was just 17. She deserved to grow up, to experience life's joys and challenges, and to fulfill her potential. Instead, she became another victim of male violence, another young life extinguished by a man who couldn't escape that she had the right to say no. Her story reminds us that DV and coercive control are not just relationship problems. They are lethal patterns of behavior that demand intervention. The red flags were there. The threats were explicit. The violence was escalating. Emily Longley didn't have to die, and that perhaps is the greatest tragedy of all. What compels a young man of wealth and privilege to destroy a life so full of promise? Could a system that coddles abusers have saved Emily if it treated threats of violence as serious crimes rather than hollow words? And what must change so that young women like Emily don't have to die before anyone believes them? Share your thoughts below. This tragedy demands conversation, not silence. If Emily's story moved you, please like and subscribe. Your support helps shed light on these devastating injustices. Next week, we'll explore another case where early warning signs were tragically ignored. Remember, believe victims the first time. Stay safe and catch you soon.